Now we're getting you exclusive visuals of how the Indian Coast Guard rescued a Filipino national 10 nautical miles off the Goa coast on Tuesday evening. These are the visuals coming from On Times Now, where Filipino national is said to be in critical condition after being rescued, but he was airlifted by the Indian Coast Guard helicopter around 10 nautical miles off the Goa coast yesterday. Ashish joining us with more details. Yes, Ashish.
Well, that's right. This medical evacuation rescue operation was carried out by the Indian Coast Guard around 10 nautical miles off Goa coast when the master of this ship, which had multinational crew, they requested the maritime rescue coordination situated here in Mumbai, and the call was later diverted to the Coast Guard Goa region. And in fact, we have with us DIG Manoj Badkar, who monitored the entire rescue operation.
Right. We also have the DIG, Mr. Badkar, with us on the phone with us. Sir, can you take us through what happened and what was this rescue operation? We believe that this Filipino national was aboard an LNG vessel.
Oh, when this LNG carrier master found one of his Filipino crew, Alberto, not well and screeching with pain, he called up our MRCC at Mumbai, who in turn directed us. Throughout the night, we were in contact with the master of this vessel. We directed him to come to the closest post, that's Goa, about 590 kilometers from the present position. And finally, we launched one of our helicopters, picked him up at about 14:45, and brought him and got him admitted to SMRC hospital here.
Well, Mr. Badkar, could you also tell us what were the challenges that you faced while conducting this rescue operation?
The main challenge was when the helicopter reached the vessel being a carrier, we didn't have much of space for lowering our air to diver to get him winched safely on board. And thereafter, the language of the injured crew member, he couldn't understand even English. But nevertheless, the trained air crew and the pilots got in the chopper in a safe place, got him winched up.
Right, sir. What is the condition of the national, and any reports as to what happened to him?
Initially, when he was brought out, he was in very much pain, and he was stable. Thereafter, our doctors examined him, and then we shifted him to SMRC hospital. And I believe when he was walking on the decks, he slipped up somewhere, and by the time the master came to know, it was hours, and by that time he had a major fracture on his hand.
Mr. Badkar, thank you for talking to us, and we salute the Coast Guards for doing their yeoman service to the people, and you're doing their jobs fantastically. Ashish joining us with more details. Ashish, clearly, like Mr. Badkar told us, the Coast Guard responding to a distress call that was made to them about this LNG vessel.
Well, that's right. In fact, it was the Filipino national was in a critical condition when the input was received by the Maritime Rescue Coordination Center here at situated at Mumbai. They quickly requested they requested the master of this crew, and they asked them to reach the Indian coast, the nearest port, as soon as possible. When the ship was diverted towards the Goa coast, then they realized that it can be easily rescued, or in fact airlifted by the Chetak helicopter. And there you can see in the visuals, you can see the pictures have been taken from that ship, which was around 10 nautical miles off Goa coast. And this is a Chetak helicopter which has conducted several search and rescue operations. And the Filipino national who suffered a few medical injuries and was critically injured was airlifted by the Coast Guard helicopter. There you see the Filipino national. He barely can move his hand, and how he's being picked up by the Coast Guard helicopter. It was later the helicopter was diverted towards Panjim, and he was handed over to the local shipping agent, where he's been hospitalized.
Also take us through what exactly happened at that point of time. We understand that this Filipino national was 10 nautical miles off the Goa coast.
Well, that's right. When the Maritime Rescue Coordination Center of the Indian Coast Guard, they received input, the ship was several nautical miles off Indian coast, and it was later requested to the master of the ship that the ship should be diverted to Goa, which is the nearest port for this ship. And the master took at least few hours, around 8 to 10 hours, to reach the Indian coast. Remember, these are big gas merchant vessels, and they take a lot of time, and they maximum do 10 to 15 nautical miles per hour, and that's the reason it took a lot of time for this vessel to reach the close to Goa coast. But the moment they reach around 12 to 14 nautical miles, the Indian Coast Guard quickly launched its Chetak helicopter, and they managed to airlift this Filipino national who was critically injured, and we are told that now he is safe and out of danger.
We also have DIG M. Bhatkar back with us. Mr. Bhatkar, we were talking about the fact that how there were many challenges in performing this rescue operation. We can see the exclusive visuals on the screen, how the Indian Coast Guard was there at the spot to rescue this Filipino national, how he was airlifted. If you can tell us more about the operation, from where it started when you got the call to rescue this Filipino national.
Yeah, when the master of the vessel contacted MRCC Mumbai, and when our headquarters from Mumbai directed us to undertake this operation, we were in contact with the master. The ship was about 590 kilometers from the Goa coast. And throughout the night, we were with the master. The master was a little worried for his crew member who was injured. We told him to head towards Goa. And we had launched interceptor boat also. But the interceptor boat found this being a huge LNG carrier. We couldn't cruise in much. Then we launched a helicopter. And the helicopter found it a little difficult because the carrier is not so designed where a helicopter could go and take a landing on the side.
What was the condition of the national when he was airlifted, sir?
He was, when he was taken, this Filipino crew member who was injured was screeching with pain, and since he was not attended for almost 18 to 20 hours after he got injured, we could see him totally in a state of shock and screeching pain.
Also, sir, do we know more details about how he was injured and about this vessel that you intercepted off the Goa coast?
He says when he was walking on deck, when he was climbing the ladders, he had a fall, and since there was no crew member, he couldn't report immediately, and he was unconscious for some time, and by the time the master came to know, it's about 2 hours after he had a fall.
So, do we have an update, sir, on his condition now, and had he regained consciousness by the time you had brought him back to the shore and admitted him to hospital?
He is also admitted here in a private hospital at Goa, Vasco, nearer the airport, and his condition is much stable now.
How old is he, sir?
He is about 26 years old.
When you're performing such operations, Mr. Bhatkar, what are the parameters that you keep in mind, and in particularly with this operation, which you said that it was a little challenging for the chopper to be at a position with the vessel and to rescue this Filipino national?
Yeah, going with the Coast Guard motto, Gayam Rakshama, we protect. Our pilots don't even mind risking themselves to save a life at sea. Nevertheless, these pilots are well trained to winch any person by a stretcher out at sea.
So how different is it that when you're rescuing somebody from mid-sea or in the high seas and somebody from on board a ship, and the thing is that there is a very narrow area for the pilot to actually maneuver the chopper, because left to right you have the hull of the ship and also the body, so it would not have been an easy task to manage this rescue op.
You are very right. Rescuing out at sea from LNG carrier is much difficult. LNG carrier being very vulnerable to fire by external means or internal means. And there is absolutely no space, even if a pilot, well-trained pilot wants to land on deck and take him in a stretcher. So he has to be very, very cautious while lowering his winch, lowering his air to diver, then securing the injured crew with the stretcher on board the helicopter.
DIG Bhatkar, you also said that this Filipino national was in a very critical state when you rescued him. How much time had lapsed when he was injured and when the first call was made to the Indian Coast Guard?
When the first call was made to our MRSS in Mumbai, we just take more than about 5 to 10 minutes for establishing contact with the vessel. But the vessel, as I said earlier, was almost 590 kilometers away. And our crew here in the operations room at Goa were in continuous contact. And our medical officer was guiding them over the phone what first aid actions to be taken to the crew.
Mr. Badkar, tell us about the weather condition. What was the weather condition? We were told that it was the ship, when it was first contacted by the MRCT, it was quite far from the Indian coast. How was the weather conditions, and how much time did it take the Chetak helicopter to reach on board the ship?
The conditions out at sea where this vessel had got this crew injured was pretty bad. But by the time the crew and the master navigated their carrier towards Goa, and when they were approaching Goa, the weather was improving. But finally, when it stopped, when helicopter was winching it, the weather and the sea conditions were a little difficult for the air crew to manage winching of this injured crew.
Tell us something about the ships. We are told that it is in a gas tanker merchant vessel, and it was pretty difficult for the Chetak helicopter pilots and the officers who winched this medical injured person. How difficult it was for the Coast Guard helicopter to hover aboard that gas tanker?
Right. As I earlier said, it was difficult. However, our helicopter pilots, in terms of winching off of injured crew, are well trained and they are well experienced. And the present set of crew, which we had deployed for execution of this operation, did their standard operating procedure. And as I said, picking up a person from an LNG carrier, it's much riskier than picking up from a cargo ship.
So what is the state of readiness, DIG Badkar, in terms of the Coast Guard? There has been a heightened level of activity in the seas, especially around the Arabian Sea and the coast and the maritime border, given what has happened in the last few days. But does this also show the kind of readiness that the Coast Guard has in terms of be it rescue or relief or even interception operations?
The Coast Guard is an organization with multifarious activities, and each unit deployed in be it in the heightened security or in normal times out at sea, they are very well prepared for.
Right, DIG Badkar, just a very last question, that has the Filipino national's family been contacted, and have they been informed about his condition at present?
The master has informed the Filipino crew's family, and here the agents have also confirmed to us that their family is contacted and the embassy is getting its necessary action done for him to be sent back.
DIG Badkar, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.